The Gospel according to John, chapter 2, passage 3. The reaction of the Jews to the cleansing of the temple. As the Jewish Passover was approaching, Jesus went to Jerusalem. In the temple, he encountered those selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and money changers sitting at tables. Having made a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple, along with the sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. To those who were selling doves, he said, "Take these things away from here. Do not make my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." In response, the Jews said to him, "What sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." The Jews replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you are going to raise it in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. Therefore, when he was raised from the dead, his disciples recalled what he had said, and they believed the scripture and the words that Jesus had spoken. These words invite us to reflect. In this gospel excerpt, Jesus performs a symbolic act of cleansing the temple by expelling the merchants and money changers who had turned God's house into a place of commerce. His zeal for the Father's house reveals his deep desire to restore the sanctity of the temple as a place of prayer and encounter with God. The Jews, surprised and bewildered by his actions, demand a sign proving his authority. Jesus responds by speaking of the destruction of the temple and its reconstruction in 3 days. His words refer to his passion, death, and resurrection, but the listeners, focused on the material significance of the temple, do not understand this message. For the disciples, these words become understandable only after Jesus' resurrection. They then realize Jesus was referring to the temple of his body, which confirms his salvific mission and divine identity. This passage reminds us of the need for purity of heart and soul as a spiritual temple where God resides. Jesus calls us to reflect on our zeal for God's matters and to cleanse our intentions and our relationship with God. I'm glad I could be with you. Talk soon. Your friend.